Good morning. Welcome back in. We are going to focus on authentic creativity today. And you know that when you create something, it tells a lot about you. All that subconscious stuff comes out. And if you know how to decipher and interpret creations, you can learn a lot about a person. So in doing the deviant moon and shuffling through these, the artist popped up and it feels appropriate. So let's talk about what authentic creativity looks like. Why be authentic? Why be creative? I think there are a lot of people out there who like to fall into this category of, oh, I'm not creative, I'm not this, I'm not that. But as humans, we create, we destroy, and how we use that energy is important, right? This is the whole reason why I do conscious creativity, or cultivating conscious creativity, cultivating conscious co-creative communities and culture. It's challenging, but we can look a little bit about, what creativity looks like, how to be more creative if that's what you want, how to release yourself in these creative moments. Being creative can lead you to being more authentic as well. Okay. I don't know that there's really a whole lot to focus on here. A lot of this feels like practice. The Hermit card comes up here too, right? Being authentic in this creative space, in this space with yourself, right? Understanding the self and being able to cultivate an authentic expression. When you can be with yourself and when you can sit with yourself and be honest with yourself and express yourself, there's a whole lot that you can do to create changes, to implement a focus that perhaps can alchemize aspects of your life that will have a worldly influence. Like, something that came to me yesterday in being holistic or going for something wholesome. The word worldly also came to mind. Multicultural, right? Being able to integrate a number of viewpoints, perceptions into your well-being and into your life. Okay. Let's take a moment and ground in. If you jump on here, as always, and you have questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to address them and to focus on them. Something I've been working on this morning is this book that I have, this little booklet that I picked up a few years ago. Better Relationships Through Self-Knowledge, right? How to Love Me. I picked this and another book up in a bookstore. Oh, it wasn't a bookstore. It was like one of those like rock shops or something like that a couple of years ago, because I'm just curious to see how people make books. And I love the way that this one is done. And today when I opened it up to 6, Seal of Approval. I'm going to read to you the little quote that's on top of here because I think it's relevant. And then we'll go into the Deviant Moon, we'll go into the tarot deck here, and we'll look for some insights. Okay? This is a Lao Tzu quote. Because one believes in oneself, one doesn't try to convince others. Because one is content with oneself, one doesn't need others' approval. Because one accepts oneself, the whole world accepts him or her. Okay? Self-acceptance, I think, is a big part and a big key to authenticity. And in one of the posts that I have below this, I mentioned one of the most challenging aspects of being authentic is resisting other people's opinions of you. People will try to label you this, that. They'll try to call you this, that. They'll try to do something that is trying to lead you astray from yourself. They want to put you into this box, into this container, as a means of trying to control. And when we're authentic and we're doing creative expression, right? If we're being creatively authentic, if we're doing authentic creation, we are releasing the need to control, to be controlled, and we're allowing the flow to come through. And I think a lot of these dynamics, when it comes into relationships and creativity, have to do with how we experience ourselves and how we experience others. This card is interesting, this Two of Cups. There's a unification here. There's an exchange of emotions, right? We have this masculine figure who is also a death figure, and we have this feminine figure who is holding her womb, right? As if protecting something or emphasizing creation. I want you to notice something here. These are the blocks and the things outside of you that are trying to prevent you from being creative, okay? There are these energies, perhaps, that are trying to corner you, that are trying to hold you down or repress you or to contain you. And if we follow this ribbon down, we can see that there are these attachments that are being created, or these things that are trying to hold us or trying to bind us. And there's blood spilled on the floor. And so we have an opportunity in this space of, well, what do? We have to find creative solutions to get ourselves out of these complications. Creativity, artwork, holds a power. It holds an influence. There's a resonance to it that, when viewed, permeates into the viewer. And if something isn't authentic, it will resonate within the body that is receiving it, perhaps in discord. And I think some of the most profound artworks that are out there, when we view them, when we take them into our perceptions, into our being, they resonate with us on an emotional level and on an energetic level. They have a way of conveying something to us, an energy to us. So how we receive that also tells a lot about us and about the subconscious. Okay? We're going into the deviant moon being emotions. I also have the becoming deviant too, so we'll look into that. And this is a broad space, but I feel the most important thing here is to provide permission, and to give you permission to express yourself creatively and authentically. So many people don't, right? Let's shuffle this again. Let's see what we can come up with. Okay. There's a message here for us, and something that we are attempting to harvest. There's a cultivation here. The crow is here too. I put something down about, or posted something recently about animals, animal spirits, and what they're trying to connect to us about. One of them is a crow. Maybe I'll make that post public. I thought about it earlier and got a no, but at the same time, it's coming up for me again. A peasant woman prepares to rid her land of the wands growing in the field. An eighth wand serves as a scythe as she readies to cut them all down with a single stroke. Above her, a black crow flies into the scene with important news. Quick actions, decisions made in haste, delivery of important news, voyage by air. The other side of this, I think, is the part we need to focus on. Because these themes of envy and jealousy keep popping up. And I think those envy, jealousy feelings are the things that prevent us from being authentic, or try to keep us from expressing ourselves in these authentic and creative ways. Stagnation in life and domestic woes come into play if we're looking at it from its reverse side of things. And so if you're feeling any of these domestic woes, any problems at home or within relationships, or if you're stagnating in life somehow, or if you're feeling envy, or if you're feeling jealousy, what do we need? We can talk about how we can stand into our authentic power and how we can address a lot of these issues. Okay? If other people are feeling this way towards you, this is also, again, standing in your power in that authentic self-expression. Okay? Let me look at these Two of Cups. Now ask yourself, why would somebody prevent you from creating something authentic? Okay. Queen of Wands is here. Let's just look at it. This is confidence as well. You have to be confident in your ability not to create something, but to stand by your creations, right? To take ownership of the subconscious influences that come out. The confident Queen of Wands stands as a dominant personality in the forest. Her self-assured energy radiates from her soul, attracting everyone she meets with inescapable charm. An attractive and well-liked female, assertive, a sincere person, and confidence, right? This goes back to our Lao Tzu quote here too, being able to believe in oneself, right? The other side of this, again, the things that can prevent us from being our authentic selves and from creating in an authentic way: vindictiveness, one who brings conflict, infidelity, and revenge, right? Again, these dynamics that are trying to divide and to separate us. That's destructive. I mean, even in an art piece or in some sort of creation, if there's a destructive quality to it, if there's a destructive nature to it, or somebody is trying to destroy your ability to create and express yourself authentically, it makes that very, very challenging. And perhaps that's what a lot of people are struggling with when it comes to authentically creating something, right? It's vulnerability, it's realness, and there are these destructive forces that want to come along and take it all away from us and chop it all down. And it's just not conducive to anything that's beneficial for a whole, right? Right. Because if we want something to be beneficial as a whole, we have to work together. There's a co-creative nature to this. There's a co-creative aspect in order to consciously cultivate something that's co-creative, something that's authentic. That authentic creativity ties in all these different elements of self, but it's also enlightened by the influences and the dynamics of others. And so there's a responsibility to what it is that we're creating. This thing comes up so often every time I teach. And if you haven't heard me say it before, let's go back to the first artists. I got to take this course, Art as a Mirror of Evolving Consciousness, in grad school. And I just thought it was fantastic because that's what art does, right? It serves as a mirror to the evolution of our consciousness as a whole, as an individual. So when we create something authentically, we're not creating it for others. We're creating it for ourselves because it's in our nature to do so and to be creative. People have been creating since the creation of mankind, of humans. And if we look back to these ancient tribal cultures, ask ourselves, right? Who were the first artists? From what I understand, or what I took away from that course, was the first artists were the shamans. They were the mystical beings who have the connection to source. And in some cultures, if you weren't of this caliber, you were prevented from creating artwork. Some cultures you were punished, and in some cultures you were even put to death, because there's a lack of understanding of the responsibility that goes into that creation. It's this story of where you see the young man who watches the shaman paint the figures on the wall, and then sees, oh, he paints in a buffalo, the buffalo come in, because there's a divine relationship, or there's a spiritual relationship to the cosmos and to the earth, right? What we channel in and what we bring in intentionally and energetically manifests itself on the earth. And so this young person witnesses the shaman and is like, that's all that it takes. All I have to do is create the picture on the wall, and then I can summon in all these buffalo. And he's only summoned in this many buffalo. That's just barely enough to get us by. What if I were to summon in thousands of buffalo? Right? And he summons in 1,000 buffalo, and then there's an excess, and then there's waste, and then the following year there's a detriment, or there is, what is the word I'm looking for? The opposite of surplus, right? There's not enough food to go around, so people starve, and the balance is thrown off. There's a disconnect behind the influence of what it is that you're creating, right? And somebody creating out of that space of, oh, I can do better, I can do more, from that competitive nature, from that ego of wanting recognition, or wanting to be the hero, or gaining some sort of attention, fame, or wealth, or something from what they do, that comes out of ego, and that's not authentic. That aims to serve a purpose that is limited to that person, right? There's a disconnect from this unification or this harmony that comes from the creative cycle. It's not so difficult to understand. And that's not to say that, if you aren't labeled a shaman, then how dare you for making art. But I think you need to understand that in our conscious capacity to heal ourselves and to heal others, right? This creation serves as the modality that allows us to heal ourselves and to heal others, right? There's a responsibility to ourselves in this creative process to transmute the energies, right? To transmute the emotions. And that's what creation is. That's what the arts are about. Energy, emotions, eliciting some sort of feeling and response, releasing feelings, and let's say putting imagination to a world or to ideologies, perhaps that words can't give us. Let me look at this Two of Cups here to see if there's anything. Okay, this, right? So again, the importance of creation. is bringing people together. Love, harmonious partnership, coming together. Otherwise, we're talking about false love, broken relationships, conflicting interests. And if we're in that space of falseness, you're not being authentic. So what is it that you're generating? What is it that you're putting out there? For what purpose? For what means? And to what ends? I think when we create something, we expose ourselves to other people's judgments. And some people can fear the judgments of others, and so they suppress or they repress, or they don't want to be their authentic selves. But there's something about that modality of the creation, right? That doesn't lie. Or that energy, that subconscious stuff still flows through. So when we're creating something, okay, she wants to create something. So as it's incubating, as we're growing something new, right? After we've cut out all the things that no longer serve us, after we eliminate these things in our life that are not us and that do not serve us and that don't resonate with our whole self, and we began to take these seeds that have been given, and we plant them and we nurture them and we allow them to grow, we have this opportunity to self-reflect. We are connected to this creation, right, that is coming out of us. There's self-reflection, there's something important, there's patience there, and there's contemplation. She has a mask behind her, but takes that mask off in order to connect with that which is about to blossom, about to bloom, whatever it is that she is creating. And it's blessed by emotion, it's full of emotion, it's illuminated by the emotions. This is why transmutation can occur. Sure, there can be darkness in a creation, but it's infused with light. It's bringing that which is hidden in the dark to light in order to address it, right? In order to find solutions to problems. Yes, we're going to think very carefully and long and hard about the state of our bodies, about our nature, before engaging in this creative process, right? We should. Otherwise, what's the point? Okay. We're into wands. Let's look at the wands. This is one of my favorite decks. Okay. Upon a grassy hill, an expectant mother patiently awaits the blooming of the 3 wands. Having committed great energy into the growth of this new life, she reflects on the journey that has brought her to this moment. From afar, the deviant moon nourishes the buds with its silver breath. We are not our past. We are not the experience that has happened to us. The past cannot define you. So as we're creating and we're evolving, right? Art as a mirror of evolving consciousness. When we use this creative process to track how we have evolved consciously, right? We have these glorious opportunities here. Anxiously awaiting the rewards of labor, reflection on one's efforts, patience pays, wait, good things will come, consolidate, concentrate, just be you, okay? The results of authentic creation take time to manifest themselves in such a way that you can feel the healing. It's a process. It's a part of a process. That's why it's a practice. Day in and day out, we wake up and we create something new. Okay? Every day is a new creation. Every day is a new opportunity to begin again and to start again. Not to deny the things that have happened to us, not to repress them and to suppress them, but to honor them, to recognize them, and to learn from them, right? Learn from your mistakes. Learn from your experiences. Learn from your successes. The reverse side of this is the inability to focus on projects, bad advice, mistakes made. Perhaps that's why that Hermit card came up initially too, because we have to sit with ourselves and know ourselves really well and listen to that inner voice, that guiding voice, right? Oftentimes when people seek advice or when they go to other people to vent or whatever, or to look for information, oftentimes what they're seeking is a confirmation bias. People have a tendency to seek advice from persons who they know will give them the answer that they're looking for. That doesn't make it good advice. Mistakes made, not learning, What is another one? This one I like a lot too. If a person has a problem with you and they don't speak to you directly about it or don't work to resolve it with you, and they go to other people to talk about it instead or to talk about you instead, they're not looking for solutions. They're looking for attention based off of you, right? Let's look in this deviant book, Becoming Deviant, becoming creative, right? Thinking outside of the box and doing something different. This is the Deviant Moon. My favorite thing about this deck is the irony of it. And irony keeps coming up as well. At first glance, this deck can appear to be very intense and dark and kind of scary. But as we read into it and we look into the meanings and we look into the symbolisms of things, they're beautiful. I mean, these are such soft interpretations of images that can be so intense. There was something else I was reading too, or that I had saw along the lines of child neglect, child abuse, childhood trauma, right? Those who have gone through these horrific traumas, especially early on, often gravitate towards these darker, disturbed, lesser things, right? They are the supporters of and the vindicators of those that are forgotten or those that are left behind, right? Black cats, crows, oh, that's dark, that's evil, that's bad, that's scary, dandelions or weeds. It's not true at all, right? And those people who have gone through these difficult things, who have gone through that darkness, recognize the healing power and potentials in things such as a dandelion. Dandelions are such great medicine, incredible medicine. They offer so much nutrition and so much value, yet we cut them out and we cut them down and then replace them with something like grass, right? In environments where it's not natural to that environment to be in. One of my favorite things about dandelions is their ability to regenerate the soil. They fix and they heal the soil. So what a horrible thing to see something, to judge it as bad, and to pick it, and to pull it, and to kill it, when this thing that is there is healing, and it's fixing the soil, it's providing nutrients, it's establishing balance. So check those judgments. Let's look into becoming deviant and see what we can find here. Let's start this one. I wonder if this is the same time or the same page as last time. Interesting that we're talking about dandelions correcting the soil, fixing the soil, right? Repairing the soil. This chapter is correction and appreciation. There are courses on art appreciation, learning how to appreciate art by understanding its history, the functions, the relation to the culture at the time, the techniques, okay? Appreciating the artwork. When the creation is depreciated, it does nothing for us. When people don't see the value in a creation, or they want to dismiss it, or they want to make it a problem or an issue, then we have a problem, then we have issues, right? But that's all in the eye of the beholder. Let's see if we can make sense of this part, this paragraph here. This is page 33. The connection between good journalism and sociological naturalism is easy to see. Somewhat more obscure but still interesting to consider is the connection between functionalism and the muckraking tradition in journalism. So again, what's the function? Okay, what's the function? What's the tradition? Creating is incredibly traditional. It's a tradition that has exceeded and gone beyond time, space, all these cultures. It's what we do. You can't deny that in your nature, right? The functionalist approach to deviant phenomena may be viewed as a sophisticated form of reverse muckraking, which is knowledgeable about the existence of muck, but adopts a more tolerant and appreciative view of its part in society. Again, the irony of the judgments. How are you perceiving this? What are you perceiving it to be? Are you perceiving this to be good? Are you perceiving this to be bad? Or are we looking to neutralize something here? I think any good, authentic creation neutralizes, right? It brings us to a state of neutrality where we can see the good and we can see the bad. And again, we find the balance. The strategy and logic of functionalism with regard to deviant phenomena is to comprehend the steady persistence of sin or evil instead of simply exposing or condemning it. Okay? Why do these bad things happen? Why, right? Again, what is the function? We're looking for solutions here. Not a whole lot is solved or repaired when we're just picking something out and making something bad and condemning it to be evil. Or just slapping a label on it and then shutting it out, right? I feel like religion does this a lot. What's that other thing? There's all this like animosity or this negativity around astrology because it's not based in science. Yet neither is religion. And so many people will fall into these religious ideologies without question, despite there being any evidence of its functionality. Well, I can't say that because everything has a function, right? Like the bricks. So it's just, what is the function of the behavior at the end of the day? Give the description of deviant phenomena an appreciative functionalist tone, right? It's like seeing people where they're at, holding them in that time and that space, and appreciating the opportunities to learn and to evolve. Of course, things are corrupt, they might say. That is the way the world is. The task of sophisticated journalism was to understand the basis of sin or evil, and for that task, appreciation was perhaps mandatory, though the Chicagoans took a subjective view, appreciated the deviant phenomena, and described it internally. This is taking accountability for your perceptions and taking accountability for your judgments. Just because you judge something to be a certain way doesn't necessarily make it true. Maybe it's true for you, but again, these authentic creations have something to do. Oh, I don't know. No, I'm going to kind of backtrack off that one. Empathy with and appreciation of the deviant enterprise apparently involved little effort. Identifying with the deviant subject as a matter of personal inclination as well as professional commitment. Temperamental link between the functionalists. So there's temperament has to do with function, right? The emotions have something to do with the function of a behavior, right? We can all take a walk to the store, but what is the function? What function does it serve? What are you trying to get out of it? Right? We can all create something, but again, what's the function? What are you trying to do with it? What are you trying to say? Oof. I'll pull out of the art oracle here too. Okay. We'll get there in here. In this booklet that I have, right? On this page that I'm working on today, it says, starting at the bottom, celebrate each aspect of your being by completing each chakra's affirmation. Connect with each chakra symbolic element, its home in your body, and its vibrational buzz. Starting at the root, which is earth. I am safe because the sacral, water. I am creative because the solar plexus, fire. I am strong because heart, air. I am loved because throat, sound, hearing. I am expressive because third eye, light, sight. I am connected because crown, thought. I am divine because cause, right? The cause of something. I am, right? Because. What is the function? Because we're speaking to the function of the behavior. Okay. Think about that. If you have to review that, if you have to write that down, write it out, do that. We'll talk about this one. We'll talk about this one. We have 7 pentacles, the high priestess, 7 chakras. You are 7 pentacles, right? Tapping into that body, exposing, getting to the rawness of it all, right? The bloodletting, the clearing, the cleaning, so that these different aspects of self can blossom, can flourish. They all exist together onto one tree, right? King of Cups. Being one and being whole within your emotion. Okay. I think we'll switch into the other deck. Are we going to pull more out of this one? No. Okay. Let's look to this. Let's look at the High Priestess first. Okay. What's interesting to me here is that she's standing on a chessboard. She's not black, she's not white. She's like, nope, not playing the game. Okay. Not going to go into this aspect of bringing someone down, right? Not allowing somebody to protect the heart. Her heart's guarded. She's got herself here. This is not allowing somebody else to come in and to define you, right? Your artwork, what it is that you create is for you. That process is a very healing process. You don't have to show anybody, right? That was told to me recently. You don't have to show anybody. You can make these things. You can put all that horrible trauma that you've gone through into an art piece. It can be just for you. Stick it in a box, you know, and then move on to the next thing. Move on to the next phase. High Priestess 2. The High Priestess sits as a winged sentinel over the city. She protects the knowledge she holds inside, for wisdom must be earned through the trials of life, right? We go through these experiences, these horrible experiences, because this is how we gain wisdom, okay? These difficulties and these struggles that we experience, it's not because it happened to you. The wisdom is it happens for you, right? This is how we gain supreme knowledge. This is our intuition. A woman wise beyond her years, virtuous, scholarly, but the virtuousness of it is so important. When you're talking about things like jealousy, envy, those are sins. Gluttony, lust, all of those are sins. If we are in sin, right, we are not in our authentic nature. We're going against this divinity, this holistic self, this higher self, right? And she's guarding herself from it. I know my experiences. I know what I learned through school. I've got the validations through there. I've known myself and have gained the access to the validations and the supports through things like therapy, through alternative medicines, through yoga, Kundalini specifically, through doing the work, right? Through doing the shadow work and addressing these difficulties in order to come up in alignment with higher self, right? The part of this that gets difficult, right? Or this inauthentic self, holding back true feelings. If you're holding back your true feelings, or you're trying to present yourself in a certain way to get people to think a certain way, or to get people to try and view you in a certain way, you're not being authentic. That's being manipulative. You're trying to control another person's emotions. Holding back your true feelings, right? I think a lot of people hold their true feelings back from themselves because they don't know how to sit with themselves. They don't know how to do that internal work and to do that self-reflection, right? They don't know how to do this. They can't self-reflect in order to nurture. They'd rather stay in ignorance. That's why they say ignorance is bliss, right? If you want to ignore these key aspects and you want to create conflict so that you are the winner, that you are right, or that your confirmation biases, or that your biases are confirmed, you're not being authentic. And the things that you're creating aren't coming out of an authentic space. And if you're creating things that are inauthentic, that are lies, that are untrue, what does that do for you? Lack of vision. I don't know, we can take that one a lot of different ways, a lack of vision. It's not like a literal seeing, but maybe it is. This is not seeing things as they really are, but rather as you want them to be, right? Or closing your eyes to these opportunities for growth. What do our artists have to say about this in our art oracle? Oh, let's look at King of Cups first. Because this is a master of emotions. There's a starfish in this as well, right? For one, we're traversing over the murky waters. We're getting through the emotional experience. And then the starfish is the ability to regenerate and to rebuild itself and to recreate itself, right? When limbs are lost, when things are cut off, when things are cut out of our lives, right? We have the ability through emotional fulfillment, through, what's the word I want to say? Emotional intelligence, to be able to cultivate something pretty miraculous. But we have to do the work, and we have to be patient with it, right? We're not looking for immediate results just to ease the discomfort. You know, just because you don't like something or don't like the way something is going doesn't mean that you have to generate conflict in order to get your way just to keep yourself comfortable, or just to have things go your way, or to have this feeling and this sense of control. King of Cups. Okay, the insightful king, insight. Okay, looking within, sight, looking inside the self, knowing inside the self. Sitting at home alone says nothing towards self-reflection. I think a lot of people can sit alone and not self-reflect. They can distract themselves with, again, with TV, with substances. That came through yesterday. Through creating a container in which all of their biases are confirmed, right? This is not looking towards the multicultural integral aspect of things in order to grow oneself and to evolve consciously. This is maintaining that homeostasis in order to not have to make changes, right? Which leads to stagnation, which leads to disconnects in relationships, which leads to animosity and vindictiveness, or can put people in this place where they start to become paranoid, or they see others as outside of themselves. You know, it's all about trying to control things as they are and maintain an external environment in order to avoid looking within and self-reflecting. You can be a hermit in a group full or in a community of people and be surrounded by people and still have that authenticity, right? It's standing in your own light, standing in your own power, being yourself, right? Not having to conform to others. And the hermit is number 9, and oftentimes we see him standing at the top of a mountain holding his light. And if we think of this mountain where the top of it is number 9 and the bottom of it is number 1, right? We see the majority of people, the majority space is down here at level 1, right? There's a lot of people that have to do this work until they reach this space of divine enlightenment or a higher understanding, right? And so what these hermits do, or what people with this deep, profound knowledge tend to do, is they want to solve all the problems. They want to fix everything. They see what's going on at 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So they come down out of their hermit mode and they try to integrate themselves on these different levels to try to bring people up to the level that they're at. And it never works. I mean, you might be able to put yourself into some 8s and then get people to ascend to that enlightened self, to that 9, to that completed cycle. But if you're going to go down here to 1, 2, 3, and you're trying to pull these people up to 9, right, you're decreasing your frequency in order to try and get the ignorant people to try to come up with you. And if people are ignoring what's going on around them, they're not going to be listening to what you're trying to say, and then you're going to get frustrated, right? But you can stand in your own power and stand in your own truth and still exist within a community of people and interact with people, but you're staying in your lane. You stay in your place. So what happens to the hermits that stay on top at number 9, right? They're not up there alone, fully dissociated from people. They're sitting there and they're waiting for those that come to them, those that are ready to ascend, to be at that level. And then there's community built on that level. And then we have all of these peaks with all of these lights, right, all around us, so that no matter where anybody is on this evolutionary chain or in this evolutionary wave or flow, They can have beacons and north stars. They can see the light. They know where they're going, right? So we do a disjustice to people when we try to squash ourselves, or we try to bring ourselves down to another person's level. You're not going to be able to convince people the way that you want to. I guess I didn't look at this one out of the book too. We'll do that, and then we'll go into these guys over here. 7 coins, right? That whole self, what is that? The young witch practices her spells in the factory garden. She practices. This is a practice. Getting into that whole body, right? I'd rather accept things. Yes, the radical acceptance. Radical acceptance came through yesterday too. Why are you going to try and delude yourself into thinking something is something that it's not? Radically accepting something and being in the present environment is such a powerful tool for being able to heal, right? Yes. Sticking a tree with a rusty nail, she evaluates the growth of her skill. Evaluate the growth of your skill. Art is a mirror of evolving consciousness. If we're looking back at the things that we have created and that we have done, and we're self-reflecting and we are evaluating this, right? We have an opportunity to grow, to make changes, to learn from mistakes, to do better, to try something new. 7 pentacles bloom from the once dead branches, right? Highlighting and emphasizing all of these chakras, all of these aspects of self, illuminating and getting in touch with every aspect of your being, figuring out the function, figuring out the because of each of these roots of being and means of being is incredibly powerful, right? Things will grow from that. It's never too late. It's absolutely never too late. Developing skills, growth in one's abilities, taking a moment to reflect on progress made, especially if you're feeling really stressed. Have I done good enough? I don't know. Or having any of these self-doubts, take a moment. Self-reflect and pat yourself on the back. Man, before getting into this morning, I just thought to myself how proud of myself I am for staying grounded, for staying in my power, and for not letting things bend and move me or distort me or put me in this space of fear. When we're in that space of fear, it's very difficult to be authentic, and oftentimes we're afraid to be ourselves or to be whole or to be true to ourselves because we're afraid of other people coming along and hurting us and being vulnerable. So we put on these big guards, but we're not going to be able to cultivate anything from that space, right? If we're looking at this side of things, right, the inauthentic aspects of this creativity, this is impatience, having to have everything now, doubting one's own ability, and little progress. You can be incredibly productive. You can be incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for? You can make a whole bunch of stuff, right? You can be incredibly prolific and still not have progress. There can still be stagnation. You can still proliferate and be stagnant. That's why stagnant waters grow all that disgusting grows, like things grow in stagnating water, right? But it's not, it's like it grows within it. Nothing is growing up. Nothing is growing out of anything. This is growing up and out. Okay? Impatience doesn't pay. Hurry up. Spread yourself too thin. Do it now. Bad things will come. Lack of foresight, right? Lack of delayed reinforcement. It might work for you now in the moment, but as time progresses and then time goes on, that's where like karma tends to catch back up to you. That's where You realize at the end of the day, all the work that you have done is for naught because you haven't been doing the work. You haven't been putting into practice any of these things that you're learning. You're not putting into practice any of these tools, right? And when you do put into practice with these tools, it's amazing what can be generated from that. All right, let's look at our art oracles here. All right, and thank you again for jumping in on this space. Sonia Delani. I haven't seen her come up in this yet. This deck is still fairly new to me, so I'm excited to see a new face in here because the last few times that I've pulled out of this deck, it's been a lot of the same faces. Don't live to 94 without founding an art movement, right? Don't go your whole life without creating something authentic. This doesn't have to be, like a literal art movement. I think this is suggesting that art, that creative process, allows movement to happen. It creates flow, energetic flow, right? Why limit yourself throughout your life and not allow yourself to express itself creatively? You learn nothing about yourself. Your subconscious won't be exposed to you. The practical should also be art. This one is super important because so many people get caught up on this thing, oh, I'm not an artist, I can't draw, I can't do this, and the art of living, art is a way of being, right? The practical should also be art. The way you wash your dishes, the way you check your mail, the way you tie your shoes, the way you get dressed in the morning, right? These are very practical things. And there's an art to it. That art is the being mindful. It's the being worldly, right? It's the understanding of the internal and external connections that happen and the importance of these very practical day-to-day things. The way you vacuum, the way you mow your lawn, when you take into account the aesthetics of what it is that you're doing, it can have a profound impact on your consciousness, on your life, on your experience of being alive. My undergrad research, or my research, started as an undergrad looking at neurological implications of aesthetics and consciousness. Okay. How do the aesthetics, how do the way things look, right, affect the way that our brain grows? How does it change the shape of our neural pathways? Right? Does your geometry lack poetry? Okay. There can be order, there can be form, there can be that box, right? But what's the function? What's the point of that box? What's the point of that container if it doesn't have the essence of creativity to it? Right? What's the function? Do you put everything in order because it eases your anxiety and it prevents you from feeling anything? Right? Or do you put things in such a way and organize things in a way and structure things in a way as a means to elicit authentic feeling and authentic expression? You're the only person who can answer that for you, right? Only you truly know. Maybe, unless somebody's a really good reader and they can read into your energy or they can decipher your artwork. You can tell so much about a person by what they create, by their self-portraits. It speaks volumes. If you know what you're looking at, if you know how to appreciate it. If you're all about depreciating something and you're more inclined to belittle, demean, deface, or try to make something look bad. You're not appreciating it. You're depreciating, right? Depreciating the value of something. That's not what art is. We don't have art depreciation. Okay, I don't know if I've ever heard of a class called art depreciation, but I have noticed recently in culture, there are certain people who go into these museums to intentionally deface artwork. Whoa, right? Like you're trying to erase parts of history. You're trying to erase the authenticity of somebody else because it's making you uncomfortable or because you don't like it. Not okay. Art appreciation. That's that radical acceptance. To appreciate what is given to you, right? It's to play the heck out of the cards that you were dealt, right? You are dealt a hand of cards, and what are you going to do? Oh, I don't want this, I want a new set. Like, no. Appreciate this. Did I tuck her away? I mean, even in chess. I don't play chess often. I hardly know the rules of chess. Okay, or like what the things are. But the last time I played chess, I won. And I won with very few figures on my side. All it took was one move and boom. Just kind of snuck up out of nowhere, right? That's that wisdom. Wisdom through experience. Employing the wisdom that I know through experience to make the right choices. Okay, let's read about Sonia here. Sonia Delany was raised in St. Petersburg by educated moneybag relatives who supported her art education in Germany and Paris. Wooed by the Parisian avant-garde, Sonia stayed in the City of Light as revolution loomed over the country of potato. In Paris, Sonia married Robert Delany. Together, they helped develop Orphism, a cubism offshoot defined by vivid colors and geometric shapes. The Russian Revolution left Sonia without cash flow from her family, so she supported herself with textile, costume, and fashion design in Madrid, no less experimental than her paintings. Sonia deftly showed that the applied arts are damn fine too. Okay? Apply yourself to it, whatever it is that you're making. Even if you're in an office, right, in this very corporate setting, you still have an opportunity to make what you do an art form. It's the way in which you relate to it, the cause, the because, right? What is the function of what it is that you're doing? And that can go the other way around. I mean, you can have artists who are creating and making something, but if they don't approach the art as an art form, and they're just doing it for some other reason, again, it's like, what is the function to it? Is there appreciation or is there depreciation? Okay, this is good. JMW Turner, another new one. Thank you, Sonia. JMW Turner. Oh, interesting, because he is standing on the water. See this guy, water in the boat, King of Cups. See this guy, water, boat. Okay. Find the facts in a feeling. Feelings and emotions are often dismissed because people want to say that they're devoid of logic. But our feelings, our emotions, are energetic cues into what's going on in the environment around us. Okay? If you're feeling angry, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling enthusiastic and happy, what's the function of it? What's causing that, right? Find the facts in the feelings. We can delude ourselves a lot of times to feelings too. Like a lot of people drink alcohol because it makes them feel good. And they're like, oh, I feel good, so this must be good for me. Wrong. Nature does not sit still. It is not in our nature to stagnate. It is not in our nature to depreciate. It is not in our nature to not do things. our genetics, our biology, I mean genes across the board, from plants to amoebas to porcupines to whatever it is. It evolves. Our whole body is a system of microbiomes. Like, we're made up of other living things. We have other living things in our guts and on our skin and on our eyelids, and it's not just us in this meat suit. There are other microorganisms that are constituting your being that are also evolving. They're also responding to these natural stressors or to the environment, to their environment. And they're not going to evolve in a certain way because you say that they are. They're going to evolve on their own accord in order to thrive, in order to survive. I saw something else this morning too, talking about gut biome stuff. There's like 2 bacteria or something like that that have been identified in the gut biomes of ancient cultures or of persons long time ago. One of which still carries on in our gut biome today, and it is found in meat eaters, people who primarily eat fish and who primarily eat meat as opposed to vegetables, have a tendency to acquire this bacteria in their gut, which tends to create ulcers and stomach cancers and issues, or just issues around the gut in the midsection. And then there's another one that they had found in early humans that hasn't progressed into humans, but they found that same gut bacteria in things like lions and tigers in carnivores. So the bacteria in your gut, that host, you're the host to this thing that could care less whether or not it is hosted in your body, so long as it can find some body to be hosted in. It's going to evolve despite your well-being, despite your health. Okay? The sun will rise whether or not you are there to watch it. Okay? So again, are you being ignorant? You can't tell me the sun doesn't rise in the morning. You can't hide inside all day and deprive yourself of the sunshine to deny that it even exists. It's there, right? Just because you depreciate or devalue something or don't see something doesn't mean that that thing has any sort of, or lacks some sort of inherent value. That authentic side, your authentic side, you know when you're being authentic, right? Even if somebody tries to come along and tell you you're something you're not, you'll know that truth is there. That authenticity will be there, right? This guy came out again too. Maybe we'll look to him after this. I have this little mini dark tarot set to kind of go along with this deviant moon set. Well, I just opened it. Let's see what it is, because I shuffled through earlier and then got the same thing. XVI, what is that? 16? 16 also reduces to a 7. Right? This is like the nature of all things here. This is the Tower. The shattering of certainty. Right? And oftentimes, in that authentic creation, we're never really certain of what'll come out. Anytime I approach a canvas, I'm never really sure what it's going to look like when it comes out. I allow the flow to happen, and then it comes out as something, and then I have this moment to go, huh, and self-reflect. I've created a mirror. I've took something inside of me, and I've extracted it, I've pulled it out, and I have an opportunity to reflect on it, right? To sit with it, to analyze it, to figure out what's going on. You know, if I can detach enough from my ego, and I can look at this with truth and with lack of judgment, without judging myself or caring what other people think, right? I can provide for myself a sense of relief, right? Like if you detox your body and you get these bacteria out of you, you feel better. But if you deny the fact that these things are inside of you, eating you and distorting your body, and you continue to feed it or to fuel it or to deny it, it'll catch up with you. You'll feel ill. You'll get sick, right? All right, let's see. Let's find you J.M. Turner, J.M.W. Turner. There you are. Prone to his own mood swings, speaking of emotions, William Turner painted the ups and downs of nature with staggering insight. Okay? This is why when we look through art history and look through the appreciation of art, a lot of very effective art pieces aren't of like butterflies and rainbows. They're not necessarily beautiful subject matter, right? Some of these things are very raw and very intense and very dark and can speak to these difficult emotions. Think about that, right? I remember the very first painting I ever made. I was pretty young, I don't know, late elementary, early middle school or something like that. And I had found some like little model paints or something like that. We only had a couple of colors. And I painted a field of flowers. It was pretty impressive. I was like, wow, cool. Like, I like this painting. I like these paints. And I made a field of flowers. Mom, look. I painted a field of flowers. And the reaction was, oh, that's dark. Like, it's a fucking field of flowers. I used the colors that I have. I used the tools that I have. They're flowers. They're beautiful. Oh, wow, like the judgment. And it was like, oh, wow, you are. Oh, no. This feeling or this thing isn't bright, sunshine, perky all the time. And therefore, it's depreciated. Right? That's why art appreciation teaches us to appreciate these darker aspects, these darker moods, and these emotions. The staggering insight. There's so much insight that can be gained by looking into the shadows and exploring these deeper, darker aspects of human nature. We are creators, and we also have the capacity to destroy. Look at all the destruction that happens. Or environmentalism. There are accounts of environmentalism going back to like earlier Roman times. And they're talking about how these war troops are camped up along the rivers. And the longer they stay encamped, these battle warriors ready to fight their wars or whatever, the more polluted the water becomes, the more toxic the air becomes. You know, people start shitting in the water and throwing gross things in, and they're polluting things. This environmental destruction isn't new. That destructive aspect of we're going to come in and dominate and take over, or we're going to get out of this alignment, right? We're going to fall into these evil, destructive behaviors. We're going to go kill and pillage and rape. Like, holy cow, man. Why do people do this? They do this because they don't want to reflect on their own stuff. They don't want to take accountability for their own actions. And so it's easier for them to come along and destroy something that is unfamiliar to them, that is dissimilar to them, in order to validate their own experiences, their own feelings, and their own emotions, right? So if we're looking here back into this, contemporary critics consider Turner a proto-impressionist for his ability to direct light and animate landscapes. I mean, even speaking to the darker subject matter, takes light, physical, actual light, in order to create these things. If we didn't have light at all, nothing would exist, right? Light is an energy, it's a frequency, it's sunlight. There's growth and healing and capacity and fuel in there, right? That lights us up. Again, if you jump on and you have questions, feel free to ask. I'm doing my best to keep track of the comments here. Through oil and watercolor, Turner found divinity in the details. He hoarded knowledge and experience from his European travels, but was a recluse back in London, where he hung out mostly with his dad and purportedly went into a funk every time his paintings sold. At his death, Turner bequeathed much of his extensive oeuvre to the country, both as an act of largacy and safe storage, Largesse. I'm going to have to look up that one. I'm sorry, I don't know that word. And safe storage, right? So your artwork, again, what it is that you're creating, it is for you. And there is a scariness to it, or there is a vulnerability in it anytime somebody buys your artwork or takes your artwork, because chances are, if they don't appreciate it, they're not going to take care of it. That's an extension of your heart and your soul and yourself. Anytime you create something, that's a part of you. Your energy is in there and it exists in there. And if somebody takes that and they don't care for it and they don't nurture it, they're destroying an aspect of you. They're depreciating something of you, or they're not valuing something in you. And that can be a huge loss. I think that's why there's a lot of these really talented, famous people who have existed throughout time, who have been artists, who have never been recognized or known for their artwork in their lifetime. Only posthumously, or after they have died, have their artworks been discovered and uncovered, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, I didn't even know this person, and the images and the things that they create speak so much to that person. I'm trying to think of the artist that I have specifically in mind. There's a film done it, or there's a documentary on it. And I wish I could think of the name of it, because it's so good. And it's this man who isolated himself in his apartment for most of his time, and he's very recluse, very hermity. People knew and kind of knew of his things, but he largely kept to himself and stayed in the same place forever. But when he died, they found these books that he had created, or these little children, and just so prolific and so much of it. And I think it shocked people, but he didn't make that for other people. He made that for himself. And what we have learned, the wisdom we have gained from that, is invaluable. It teaches us so much about the human experience, and we think that we know somebody, we can project these ideas onto somebody, but we don't. So that authentic creation, that is something that needs to be protected, it needs to be nurtured, it needs to be valued and appreciated, but you have to appreciate yourself. Which is why we get into this seal of approval, and we get into this book of how to love me, how to love yourself, right? Because one believes in oneself. One doesn't try to convince others. Because one is content with oneself, one doesn't need others' approval. Because one accepts oneself, the whole world accepts him or her. Okay? It's being one, it's uniting in, it's coming into the forefront. Right? That radical acceptance, that radical self-acceptance, that self-love. And it baffles me that we want to put people down for loving themselves and speaking of themselves and talking of themselves. It's, I think, very easy these days for people to try and place this label of narcissism on others, but that's not what narcissism is. Narcissism isn't just this focus on oneself. It has to do with a destructive capacity towards somebody else. That's the person who intentionally, functionally wants to harm somebody else in order to make themselves feel better, to put themselves ahead of somebody. That's that deliberate harm, battle, war, confrontation, contentiousness, issues, right? Like deliberately making other people feel bad to make yourself feel better. But when you're making yourself feel good, when you do what you can to heal yourself and to be in your own power and to be your authentic self, and when you create something for yourself, that's not up to other people to decide. You'll have people that will come along and they'll resonate with it. They'll love it. They'll appreciate it. They'll value it. You'll have people who do the exact opposite, oftentimes out of jealousy and envy because they don't love themselves, because they can't appreciate themselves. If people can't appreciate other people, it's because they don't appreciate themselves, or if they don't appreciate the artwork, if they don't appreciate the creative nature of something, it's because they don't value themselves. They value something else outside of themselves, or they're basing their self-worth on whatever it is that they can gain, other people's values and opinions, fitting in, being popular, so on and so forth. Louise shows back up. She's been popping up pretty much every time that I've done this lately. The spider. The spider is the symbol of feminine creativity, and I've been seeing lots of cute little spiders around lately in these just amazing little spots, and they're adorable. Remembering through art is better than forgetting. Authentic creation. Remembering through art is better than forgetting. We're not here to repress stuff. We're not here to deny aspects of ourselves. No, we can encapsulate these difficulties into a creative container, extract it from ourselves as a means to alchemize it, right? Remember these difficult things that have happened so that you don't end up repeating these cycles that can be very destructive. I gotta wrap this up here in a minute. I gotta go get my little guy soon. An inference is worth 1,000 appendages. Draw on private pain to connect with the public. And here I am drawing on private pain again to connect with people. You know, finding ways of connecting people through the wisdoms and through the experiences. When I do share my artwork, it's as a means to connect. It's to put out that light and that beacon towards other people who may not have any idea that somebody else out there has some of the same thoughts and feelings and experiences as they do. There's a form of validation there, of being seen, instead of being shamed for not repressing things and homogenizing yourself in order to fit into something that is stagnating or that is ultimately destructive. If an environment or a community or a culture doesn't appreciate you and doesn't value your contributions to it, I think there's an opportunity there to step into your authentic nature and authentic self and create from that space and see what kind of changes you can influence, right? To try and to evolve and to get into these spaces, right? Transcend systems to find your spirit. Get out of the way that things have been done in order to connect with yourself. Hear music through sight. Learn how to engage with all of these different senses, right? Feel the feelings. Get in alignment with your root, sacral, solar, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. Understand what all of these are, right? Transcend and overcome. We're not here to battle and to fight or to try and bring things down. We are transcending and overcoming. Begin with a dot. Just start with a point, right? Just start somewhere. Start with where you are. Start with whatever it is and feel the feelings. If you just make a dot, woo, what does that elicit in you? Are you beginning to feel liberated? Is there resistance? Is there fear? Is there shame? Where is that feeling coming from? Because why? What is the cause of that? What is the function of it? Start with something. Okay. So far to go far, exaggerate the subtle, share the unseen. Only an outsider sees inward, right? we're not going to discover authentic self by playing into the sheeple and trying to be like everybody else. It's just not going to work, right? There's these subtle things that are happening and that you're experiencing. You can turn that into artwork. You can create something very amazing in it. Share the unseen, right? I'll read you Paul. Then we'll read Jean-Michel Basquiat. And I'm going to close off this space for today. If you want a private reading, or if you want anything, if you want to connect in this space, please reach out. All right, Paul. Go far to go far. Get outside of your comfort zone. Integrate other cultures. Put yourself in different environments in order to expose the authentic parts of yourself. That theme has come up in every single reading that we focused on in the last few days that has anything to do with authenticity. Get outside of your comfort zone, right? Otherwise you're going to stagnate and you're not going to be authentic. Notorious carouser Paul Gauguin once roomed with Vincent van Gogh, but after a competitive game of who's more intolerable, the two broke up forever, right? If we're going to get into this competition of who's better than this and who's better than that, and there's going to be any sort of that discord, it's not going to work and it's not going to harmonize, okay? We're cutting out competition. We're not here to compete and to overcome other people or to try to dominate. That's not what transcendence is. Transcendence is not domination and competition, right? That transcendence is overcoming limitations within the self in order to evolve ourselves into better human beings, to increase our vibration, to experience all the beauty and the amazing aspects and feelings, just the incredible diversity of life and what it means to be alive and what it means to be human. It's absolutely spectacular when we step into that authenticity, what it is that we can begin to see, experience, and feel. And the way we begin to connect to nature and animals and insects and other people and communities, it completely transforms the experience of what it means to be alive. Gauguin then threw caution and his wife and 5 children to the wind. In search of exoticism and a career makeover, he left France for Tahiti, where he settled with the native population, took young lovers for inspiration, and generously spread syphilis. In the South Seas, Gauguin upgraded his trademark post-impressionistic primitive style. He blended daring colors, exaggerated proportions, and indulged in steamy suggestions with hints of romanticized outsider status. Getting too far outside of your comfort zone, or getting too far into this way, or getting to this point where you're doing something like spreading syphilis. You're spreading discord and disease and disorder and all of that. There's a lack of responsibility there. So you got to take a look at what it is your creative actions are actually doing. Your creative actions could be destructive to others, just as your destructive actions can be creative opportunities too. Look at the irony in it. It's not black and white. We're exploring gray areas, but we're also speaking to the chakras, the rainbow, the diversity, the reds to the indigo, the violets, all of it, all the way up to the white light, right? To the absence of light and everything, all the spectrum in between. And we as humans, we can only see a limited amount of this spectrum of white light. That white light spectrum, the color and the wavelengths that exist in there, there's so much more for us to be able to see outside of these limitations, or outside of these. We can create tools so we can see in infrared. We can create tools so we can experience ultraviolet. Okay? We can see beyond and go outside of our limitations, but we have to create the tools. We have to invent the tools. We have to use the tools. We have to implement them, and then we have to learn from them. Okay? Jean-Michel. In lieu of canvas, find a wall. Try collaborating with Andy Warhol. Good work can come from bad habits. Okay? You can take these bad experiences, you can take this awful stuff, and you can still find ways of sharing those shared experiences to create beauty, to create art, and to be authentic. And it doesn't have to look like all the other things look like. It doesn't have to be traditional. It doesn't have to be paint on canvas, right? Find a wall, that block. Figure out what that block is. Collaborate in a way to overcome and transcend that wall, overcome that block. Life and How to Live It by REM is about some of the things you've talked about today. I'm going to listen to it. About a writer with stacks of the same book he wrote, One in the Closet. Life and How to Live It. Maybe I'll find it and post it, or you find it and post it too if you want. You don't have to. Life and How to Live It, right? The art of living. How to live, how to be alive. Create authentically, authentic creation, right? It's such an amazing way to experience life. All right, Jean-Michel. Where are you? And again, despite all of the odds, it's being able to overcome difficulties, to share these experiences. Before he became every art dealer's dream catch, the charismatic Jean-Michel Basquiat found fame literally underground. First with friends, then solo, he wrote satirical commentary on the walls of downtown New York and its subways under the pseudonym Samo. By the early 1980s, Basquiat was wearing paint-splattered Armani suits and selling out his paintings of distressed figures, largely described as primitive or neo-expressionist. Of Haitian and Puerto Rican descent, Basquiat lent his personal and political experiences to art. Again, an integration of cross-cultural stuff, the worldly aspect. I mean, it's even beyond holistic, right? The worldly nature of it all. There's so much to experience and to integrate. Why limit yourself? His avalanche of stardom kept rolling with Andy Warhol collaborations and friendships with various Madonnas and Bowies. When Basquiat died of a heroin overdose at age 27, many argued it was actually the 1980s gallery scene that killed him. It's that exploitation, right? There's a lot going on there. It's just this, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's an internal conflict, but you know when you hold two opposing beliefs at the same time? It creates a dissonance, a disingenuous whatever thing. And I think a lot of that is because so much of his artwork and his expression was authentic. There was so much pressure for him to be somebody else, to be somebody that he wasn't, or to perform, or to be what the people wanted him to be, not be what he needed to be. And he was so young. He lacked a lot of tools and resources to be able to overcome this, and just allowed that fame, fortune, whatever thing to get to him. That's that. There are just people and forces and dark things out there that will see that bright shining light and will try to bring it down, which is again in that meditation. Sure, we're hermits up here on that hilltop, but when we go into that meditative space and we bring all of our energy in, and we put all of our energy in this condensed little container, right, like moss to a flame, whoof, we'll put that out. So it's important, again, through these 7 layers, these 7 dimensions, not only in the body, but the external universe around us, to extend that light through every layer, through every core, so that our being resonates on that worldly level, on that oneness, so that these dark forces and these dark influences can't swoop in and try to squash your light, right? If you're so contained like this, it's very easy for people to come along and be like, oh no, you're bad, don't do this, and they want to take that power for themselves. But if you allow yourself to not be influenced by other people's shitty opinions, right, and you know thyself, you are very clear with all of these I am aspects. I am safe, I am creative, I am strong, I am loved, I am expressive, I am connected, I am divine, because you understand all of those functions. You can express yourself, you can create from a very authentic place. And that authenticity, it's creative energy. It's that ability to be creative with the self and to be experimental and to try new things and to explore what kind of feelings and experiences you can elicit inside of the body, right? So that the outside external environment can also learn from you, right? They can feel a sense of unity. There's an exposure there. Exposure therapy. Exposure therapy is incredibly effective. When we expose ourselves to the spiders, right? Was like, bro, I can't get close to that. Yikes! Oh my God, it's terrible. Squash it. Spiders are so important. They're so necessary, right? I see this lady who's got this channel or this video or these videos where she has like the tiny pet peacock spiders, and they're just the cutest, tiniest little things, and she befriends them and she has conversations with them. You know, there's a relationship to it. The spider itself isn't scary. It's not dark. It's not evil. It's necessary. It's needed to keep balance with all the other bugs and things that can come in and throw off the balance and, you know, destroy our lives. Okay, I could keep going, I could keep talking about this, but I need to close off this channel and shift into the next gear. We'll take an opportunity here to breathe in together, out together, in. You feel it, don't you? I feel it more today than I did yesterday. That energy transmuting, things syncing up, things being okay, accepted, loved, present. Awesome. Thank you for showing up in this space. Thank you for being here and being supportive of not only me and the channel and the energy, but of each other. I think there's a lot of validation here that you guys give each other without really knowing it, right? Anytime you interact and infuse your energy into this and you take these little seeds and you go out there and plant them in the world, right? We can have the experiences together, these emotional experiences together, where we tap into the things that have been unknown and have been hidden from us for a really long time, right? We can make movements, we can do things. It'll be awesome. I love you. I gotta run. Until next time. See ya.